Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Rutherford County School Board regular meeting on October 20th. I'm glad to see all of you here, particularly many of our students, of course. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be led tonight by Colonel Harry Houchins.
All stand, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done, sir, and audience. The board would ask the audience to join us in a moment of silence tonight. And you notice that Ms. Moore is not with us this evening. Her father is critically ill in Oak Ridge, and she has gone to be with him. And if you would remember her and anyone else that you wish during your moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you so much. Our prayers and concerns go out to that family. Number 4, approval of the agenda. I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. If there's no comments, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And okay, that we're off to a roaring start here. Let's see here. Consent agenda. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. Any comments? If none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're in good shape there. Visitors, we have one visitor this evening, Amber Neubauer. Ms. Neubauer, if you would come forward to the podium. Remind you, first of all, please state your name and your address for the record there. Ms. Michaels hasn't made a mistake in a number of years, so we don't want this to be the first one. We're glad to have you. Remind you that you have 3 minutes to speak. You may begin, ma'am. Thank you for coming.
Hey, good evening. My name is Amber Neubauer, and I'm at 3102 Bishop Street in Murfreesboro, and it's 37129.
Ms. Neubauer, see if there's a green light that you can touch on the mic.
On the microphone.
It is on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I can speak up as well. So I'm here to actually see where the board is. I've never come to a board meeting, and I'm fairly uninvolved. I work full-time at the VM provider out there. I currently have 2 children that are in Siegel Elementary, and I love the school. I love everything about it. I love the teachers, the principal. We're ecstatic that we moved to that location for the school. We transferred from St. Rose 2 years ago. My concern tonight is I'm trying to help you try and educate me where the board would be on getting metal detectors in all the schools. And this comes on the tail and all of the rumors of the gun in the school at Siegel High School. My children obviously in a few years will be at Siegel High School, and I have many patients that I've asked. I've had many people that are in the neighborhood, and I said, is there any plan for a metal detector? And no one seems to know, and everyone says, that's a great idea. And I did some research here, and I'll leave this with you, from the National Institute of Justice report, and there's a lot of pros and cons. Obviously, it's an expense. The metal detectors themselves are only about $5,000 to $10,000 each, which really is a drop in the bucket if we have a mass shooting. We're going to look back and say, we wish we had done this. But we have the fact that they will slow down the school traffic as far as people getting in. I was at Bethesda during 9/11. I can tell you it took me an hour and a half to get into work the very next day. So I know that there would have to be more than one detector per school. And I would like us to consider this for all middle and high schools. So it's not just Siegel. It's not just a high school. I think we need to consider this on the middle and high school level. Murfreesboro is booming, and along with people that come in for jobs, we're going to attract more vagrants, people that don't have jobs, people that need things, and also unfortunately, crime. And while we haven't been in the news, there's no telling if this would be next year, 10 years from now. But I think it's something that would be wise for us to consider to provide a sense of security and to provide safety. Along with that, we would also be providing jobs. One SRO could supervise perhaps 4 different doors in a line, 4 different stations, providing 4 more jobs with the scanners. So we would be ahead of the curve. I've had many people, I've got 12 seconds, many people that tell me that we're just not up to snuff, per se, with our possible ability to deal with this right now. And I think that's just a huge important thing to look at. Thank you. Nice to meet you all. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you. I have a question or two. What age child do you have?
I have an 8 and a 10-year-old.
An 8 and a 10-year-old. Okay. And because you said in your opening remarks that they went to Siegel Elementary.
They're at Siegel right now. We transferred from St. Rose.
Okay. You're talking about Irma Siegel.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have no problem with anything that you said. Okay. But Irma Siegel is a city school.
I know, and that's why I'm not, the city school, I mean, I really can't see an 8 or a 10-year-old unless it was, I don't see them as a premeditated offender, part of a gang coming in. You know, they came wear baggy sweatpants. I don't think that the elementary school where it is city, and I realize that, I think the problem lies with the kids that are,
So you're
I could
asking-
be wrong, maybe we have gang members in 5th grade and 3rd grade, but I really don't think we do. I think we've got a possible problem brewing that we should be ahead of.
Okay. So you're asking for the future. I have no problem with
I'm actually asking,
request.
you know, if I had, you know, I think this would take some time, but I think in the next 24 months, it could be instituted in all the high schools and middle schools. With proper funding and planning.
Board? Yes, sir.
I guess, and I agree with you, it could be a problem. I guess just knowing what our high schools are and the middle schools, you know, we got several ins and outs of those. Not just the front entrance. You know, we got gymnasiums, got annexes. So, you know, as far as machine-wise, you know, I would say at each high school, you're talking about several machines. And on top of that, you gotta have somebody monitor the thing.
Right. The article here says it would be for 2 machines for 2,000 students, it would take 90 minutes for them to get through. So I would say 4 to 5 machines, 1 SRO, and 4 to 5 supervisors for the handing of the bags, which would mean 1 entrance,
Well, you-
1 egress, unless it was an emergency.
As big as these schools are, you got too many ins and outs.
So possibly 2
have-
SROs, 2
like I said,
main
you're-
ins and outs.
Your annex, you'll have, you know, like Oakland Riverdale, for example, you got a separate annex, so I could vision you probably have to have 2 there, okay? Then you got gymnasium, you got the back doors coming from the gymnasium into the school, you got the front doors. You know, a lot of the key would be, you know, you'd have to have every door locked. You know, the outer doors, because you got indoors and, you know, cafeteria doors, stuff like that. So, I mean, it'd be a big expense, I guess is what I'm,
It would be a big expense, and it would be a big undertaking to look at what the city schools, in the north have done. And, I mean, simple things as we've gone over for wrestling in the evening, and we've wandered free through the halls. If I was a student, I could go in and put something in a locker at that time. It would change the dynamics completely. But I feel that when I'm hearing, and again, this is just hearsay because I don't know the family and I don't know the event. I only hear what the kids are saying in the neighborhood. That there's a family that had to leave because their child turned in someone that had a gun. That could have been a possible mass shooting right there. We have someone that, in my opinion, is a hero. Now their family, theoretically, from what I hear, has left the area. If my child turned in someone to save 20 lives, my husband and I are both physicians at the VA. It takes about a year to transfer. We would be homeless if that was my family because we did the right thing, or we would tell them to do the right thing. And I think we can all sit in those shoes and say, we would want our kid to turn them in and save the lives. But the repercussions there for that family are huge. So I would like to avoid, and it could be that we're not 100% foolproof with this, even with the portables. You know, that's another issue on itself. We could have something in the future that, you know, get rid of the portables, have a few ins and outs. This might be a 10-year plan. It might start with one school and go to others. But with the way that we are growing exponentially here, just one time is enough for us to wake up and say, obviously something needs to be done.
I hope you understand, I'm not disputing anything you're saying. I pretty well know how the schools are laid out and what goes on within the schools.
And I have absolutely no idea.
That I can tell you, it'd be a big deal.
And perhaps we could compromise and just have a few more SROs in bigger schools for so many students. That might be something to look at, but, and I don't know how many there are, I just know that.
There's two at each high school, each comprehensive high school.
I will say, nothing to do with the weapons or whatever, but, over the years, we have, if you want to say upgraded the offices, I don't know the correct terminology, as far as safety goes, people in and out registering at the front offices. We have upgraded, you know, not only the new schools. If you go into one of the schools, you got to check in the front. But also a lot of the older schools, we've upgraded, you know, safety part there. But as far as weapons goes, I mean, it doesn't deal with that aspect of it. But you know, we're always looking at.
I'm sure, I mean, obviously this is my first time, you might have an even better idea than what I do. You might say maybe a dog, you know, an alternating schedule, keeping someone on their toes, just maybe some changes, just so that it doesn't happen. And I didn't even know there was gangs in Murfreesboro because I'm so isolated where I live. I go to the same job, I same Walmart, same Publix, and that's my world. Obviously, there's things well outside my scope that are happening, and it's fairly scary for parents.
Ms. Neubauer, and I appreciate you coming in tonight very much and your remarks. I will put this on a future agenda for the board for thorough discussion. Okay? I can let you know, or Ms. Michaels right there, who runs most of the world, will let you know when it will be on the agenda, but it will not be long from now. Okay? Thank you.
Can I leave this with, and it's found on the internet.
You're welcome to stay.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you all.
You ready for 7?
We have Junior ROTC Award presentation, and I have Colonel Harry Houchins who'll be at the front.
Sir, I know it's been a while since I've presented anything before the board, and I know we've got some new members here, so I'm handing out the Junior ROTC Cadet Reference.
Thank you.
This is the reference that each cadet gets.
Thank you.
And it explains to him our program of her program of instruction, requirements, and program of instruction, and what's expected, the values, the principles, mind, body, and spirit, which we focus on within the Junior ROTC program. Presently, for this year, this is the largest year we've had. We have approximately 1,400 cadets. 40% of these cadets are females. So I'm almost, well, never mind. I'm very pleased with that. We finally got a female senior NCO on board. And so we're growing. We have Junior ROTC in all 8 of our high schools, and we're looking at putting one at Rockville. Of course, that's your all's decision. Right quick, for last school year, we had a 100% graduation rate for all seniors that stayed within Junior ROTC for 4 years. Our ACT average was at 21%. And very pleased with that. Also, we have numerous service learning projects and community service projects going on. We have a good program within Rutherford County Schools, and it's well thought of within 7th Brigade and Cadet Command. And the reason we have such a good program is I've got an outstanding cadre. I am very blessed. There's some horror stories I can tell you that's happened in some other school districts within DAI shops and also individual schools. But never within Rutherford County have we had a problem. And I don't expect to have one. We have outstanding parents that support the program. And also I am blessed, and we are blessed, to have a strong administration which supports our program, and a school board that supports it also. My guys the cadre puts in approximately 5,000 total. All 15 of our instructors put in about 5,000 hours out of school student contact hours with our various programs. And that goes from our extracurricular activity programs, our community service programs, that's parking cars, doing whatever the principal requires, and support of the community. And also, most importantly, is our community service projects, which each program has at least one, if not two, and then we have a summer program. Having said that, at this time, as I mentioned the school board, there's one particular school board member that I've been in contact with for the past 10 years. And he's an educator and a leader, first class. And we are very appreciative. And at this time, I'd like for Mr. Odom and Mr. Wayne Blair to come forward, please. And Colonel Jeffries, who happened to graduate with Mr. Wayne Blair from Smyrna High School, will read the citation.
From the United States Department of the Army, Mr. Wayne Blair is presented the Commander's Award for Public Service for outstanding service and achievement as a member of the Rutherford County Board of Education. Mr. Blair's exceptional support to the Junior ROTC program is most noteworthy and has resulted in the county's 8 JRTC programs achieving honor unit with distinction during his tenure on the board. The deepest respect and sincere affection he receives from his peers and the JRTC cadre and the cadets manifest his superlative qualities and reflects great credit upon himself and the Rutherford County Schools. Signed by Colonel Lance Oskey, Commander, United States Army 7th Brigade, Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Thank you.
I believe Mr. Blair's son-in-law is a ranger. Yeah, so he's got something to share with him.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Spotlight on education, Mr. Director.
Mr. Zago, Mr. Richard Zago, we're spotlighting tonight STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and we're focusing some on the middle school level. So, Mr. Zago?
Well, I think I could compete with the Colonel. I don't have any awards for board members here, but I do have some the honor and privilege to present some exceptional teachers and students, and I see some familiar faces from my Stewart's Creek, which makes me quite proud of them. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Spotlight on Education just for a second, and then they're going to finish that up in much greater detail. We have 7 STEM teachers that teach middle school STEM, and that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Of those 7 teachers, none of them receive any substantial funding from Rutherford County other than we pay them. We pay them for their teachers, but those positions were repurposed positions from within the middle schools. The exception is Mr. Guthrie from Central, and he teaches middle and high school. But everything else comes from grants that they write and they have received. So it's an exceptional program, as you're about to see, and we're doing it on a very thin dime. Let me give you the teachers' names. I'm getting a little old, so I'm going to have to use these glasses here. Don Powell, Zach Martin, Eric Fan, Amanda Hodges, Perry Loudon, and Mark Guthrie, and that's the one that we had talked about that's at the Central Magnet as well. I believe these students and these teachers have some props they'd like to talk to you about, along with a Prezi that they're going to use to present that information. Once again, it's my honor to introduce Ms. Finley here to lead this off.
I think we're the noisiest bunch. Well, good evening. Thank you for allowing us to come up here and speak about STEM, about the STEM program in Rutherford County. So like Mr. Zago said, STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And I want to start this out by showing you just a short video. And I have some students that are going to answer the question, what is STEM? So what is STEM?
STEM is a program for bright young children to challenge their brains more than normal school allows them.
STEM is awesome. STEM is where you get a challenge and you get to figure out how to solve it. It's like problem solving and working with teams.
STEM is a really fun class.
Okay, so besides STEM being a fun class, what I want you guys to get from tonight is that it's the foundation of our future. So some of the teachers that are here tonight are help building this foundation, and I know Mr. Zago already introduced some of them. Amanda Hodgins from Smyrna Middle could not be with us tonight, but we do have Don Powell from Christiana Middle. You stand up, Don. There you go. We have Zach Martin from Blackman Middle, Eric Fan from Whitworth Buchanan, Perry Loudon from Rockvale Middle, and I'm Stephanie Finley from Stewart's Creek Middle. So the National Math and Science Initiative gave us some data, and it says that only 44% of our high school graduates are ready for college-level math courses, and only 36% are ready for college-level science courses. And basically what we're looking at is that the United States in general has a shortage of workers and students that are proficient in math and science. But we know that Americans can do better, and they have to. Because if you look at this graph, it shows you that the projected employment growth, double the amount of STEM projected employment opportunities are coming down our way. But the question is, are our students ready? So this is where the STEM program comes in. We're going to make sure that they're ready. In our classrooms, our students see themselves as civil engineers, environmental engineers, manufacturers, biomedical scientists. They see how relevant math and science really is. They do this through solving real-world problems. So it's not just, hey, let's come in and build a car. It's, we have this problem. We have a water crisis in the globe. How are we going to find the answer or the solution to this problem? So before, math was just numbers and science was just memorization, but now it's becoming real. It's becoming their future. And so to speak with me tonight, I've brought someone from the industry. This is Mr. Glenn Thompson. He's from AW Styles Contractors, and he's here to talk to you guys as well about how important STEM is to Rutherford County schools and how important it is to the future of industry.
Ms. Finley and board members, thanks for having me. I'm a second-year mentor for this robotics team, and so I hang out there a lot. I'm also did a 3-year stint with Central Magnets robotics team, and I'm on the Project Lead the Way advisory board for Central as well. So I'm a controls engineer, graduate from MTSU in the industrial technology program. So I'm not just, some dude that shows up is going to throw statistics at you or not. I hear it from the kids, I hear it from the parents. And so, that's what I want to talk to you about. Today I engage on the ground level. So a couple things. First, the value of STEM education. There's a ton of statistics out there. I'm sure you know all about them, but one I want you to consider that's specific to Tennessee. There's a publication from the Jones Business School at MTSU that concludes that there's a 41% gap between the supply of STEM jobs and what we're putting out as a school. So that's 19,000 high-paid jobs per year in Tennessee that we need to fill with STEM jobs. So if you think about that, that's a 41% STEM deficit between need and availability. So let's assume that graduation statistics or demographics should match the workforce. And think about that for a minute, 41%. That means Rutherford County should be putting out 41% more STEM-enabled kids today. So just think about the magnitude of that. Let's take a high school. The average size of a Rutherford County high school is 2,000. You take 41% that need to be STEM enabled. That works out to be almost 800 kids. You need to have 800 kids in a STEM program just to keep up with the job demands that are out there under that rationale. And I can't think of any program in the school that's as large as that. And the end game is those are high-paid jobs at the end of it. So the question is, where's the programs? And that's not an entirely rhetorical question either. Certainly there's the health programs, agriculture, there's a lot of STEM programs out there, but where's the engineering and the computer and the advanced manufacturing programs? Of course, the most comprehensive is Central's 6-year program that I've worked with before. And as Bailey Dalton, who you'll hear in a minute, she goes, how did they get that? So, of course, for the mere mortal students, you have Oakland has the fantastic mechatronics program. You have the excellent, Ms. Finley's excellent program for 6th through 8th graders. And then you've got a host of teachers here from other middle school students. Ms. Finley's program in particular has no consistent follow-up for the schools that it feeds, which is Sparta High School and Stewart's Creek High School. So we as a school system need to thoughtfully think about having a curriculum for all schools and drive that STEM program from the middle schools through the high school and to prepare Rutherford County and the students for the future. So thank you for your time.
Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys a few examples of what kids are doing in our STEM classrooms. So these are some great examples of students solving real-world problems. First of all, we have real mentors that are they're professionals, they're from the industry, speaking to our students and mentoring them. Including Katie. She's from our school. Our students right now are doing a project on creating a therapeutic toy for a child with cerebral palsy. And Katie is there to help our students do that. She's part of our research. Our students are becoming teachers. They work great in teams. They're construction workers, robot engineers, zoologists, manufacturers, textile engineers, biomedical engineers. And what you're seeing over these next few pictures is a few of our teachers, we won grants through Project Lead the Way. We won $20,000 grants, and that's saying a whole lot. Stand up if you got one of those grants. And so did I. So We're learning so much through Project Lead the Way, but that grant does run out. And so these students are learning how to become these biomedical engineers and help solve real-world problems. They're toy engineers. Yes, we built a hovercraft, and it was awesome, and that's me writing it. It was so fun. They're environmental engineers. They do a lot of field research. They're forensic scientists. And best of all is they're professionals. And so, I have some of these professionals up front to talk to you tonight. They're going to talk to you about how STEM is impacting them.
Hello, my name is Mia Finley, and I'm in 6th grade. And STEM has impacted me because when I was in elementary school, I wanted to be a veterinarian. But when I got into STEM, STEM showed me that I could be much more than a veterinarian. And now I want to be a biomedical engineer for animals.
My name is Zach Music. I'm in the 7th grade, and STEM opened my eyes to wanting to be more with science, and it showed me how science can impact so many different lives and animals' lives. So when I grow up, I want to be a marine biologist.
My name is Samantha Dedrick. I'm a STEM student in 7th grade, and STEM has shown me the vast opportunities that come with having a STEM education. It teaches you so many things that you would not learn in normal classes, not only math and science, engineering, technology, but also team building, marketing, problem solving, and other important skills.
Hello, I am Esperanza Johnson, and I'm an 8th grade STEM student. Miss Finley is a really awesome teacher, let me just say that. So I didn't really know what I wanted to be, and math and science weren't really one of my top choices. Maybe become the President of the United States, or I've got big goals, people. President of the United States or a doctor. Well, that's science. But now I realize that I want to be some sort of engineer, and I've chosen MIT as one of my top colleges that I really, really want to go to. And STEM has opened my eyes to that, and that's allowed me to make friends who can think and engineer, and it helps me become a leader, and it helps me learn different skills to work in the real world, because the world isn't going to be, hey, there's a science fact, do you remember that from 7th grade? And no, it's not like that. It's where you have real problems and you have to really solve them. And STEM has opened my eyes to that, and it's helped me realize that real world problems need to be solved, and I really want to help the world out.
Hi, I'm Navia Morris, and STEM has showed me that I never really knew what I wanted to be. I knew that I wanted to be an engineer, but I never knew how I was going to do that. I didn't know how I was going to build things. I didn't know how to market things off, and STEM has showed me through presentations, through projects, through real-world situations that I can be an engineer, and it showed me the different skills that I need to do that, such as leading.
I'm Austin Music, and I'm a 9th grader at Stewart's Creek High School, and I'm one of Miss Finley's former students, and I was in her class for 2 whole years. Yeah, 2 whole years. And so we did a lot of different projects, lots of different topics in Miss Finley's class, like forensics, which is really what I want to get into. I really didn't know that until STEM. It hadn't really crossed my mind. I didn't really have a plan on what I wanted to do. And then we started our first forensics unit, and that just sort of clicked. Made me realize what I wanted to do. And then also through STEM, we get to do this. We have a robotics team that is 6th, 7th, 8th graders, and a few of the former 9th graders that get to come back and be on the team and then help build this robot for Lipscomb's Best, which is a 6-week competition where you get a task that you have to do. They show you a giant field, they give you then you have to make a robot that can compete. And then if you manage to do well enough, you get to go to Auburn. And so that's just sort of really fun, and it allows us to do lots of different things. Like, the robot isn't just engineering. You get to work with people, and you get to build as well.
Hi, my name is Sydney Thompson, also one of Miss Finley's former students. I go to Stewart's Creek High School, and I'm one of the 9th graders. Like everyone up here said, none of us really knew what we wanted to be when we grew up. We always were curious about it going into middle school, but then we started to getting into our STEM programs and solving all of the real-world situations that actually need to be solved. So, thankfully, we got to attend to the STEM Expo at Tennessee State University, and this was the moment when I realized what I wanted to be, which is a biomedical engineer. My group, thankfully, won an award from Vanderbilt University for excellence. I'm very thankful for that, and thanks to Miss Finley, we understand, we know more about the world and what we need to do, and we take so much from her class. It's unbelievable what we learn. It helps us stay ahead in class, in our science classes. It helps us understand more and just think more outside the box than just us in class. We think and get our hands on the project instead of just reading about it or talking about it. We are actually solving issues that need to be solved.
I'm Bailey Dalton. I'm also a 9th grader. I'm one of Ms. Finley's former students. STEM really influenced me because it showed me that I can be an engineer and I can solve real-world problems. So one of the challenges that we had in Ms. Finley's class was we had to make a clean water filter for people who did not have clean water. And that was one of my favorite challenges because it showed me that I could help people that weren't as fortunate as I am by being an engineer, which is something that I love to do. And being in engineering also showed me the marketing aspect of it. So every good product that's made from an engineer also needs to be marketed so people would want to use them and businesses will. So I'm very interested in marketing products and talking, because I like talking. And STEM has just really opened up my eyes to all the different fields that I could be involved in. And even though I'm unsure of what I want to be, I know that it's going to be in engineering and marketing. And I'd also like to invite all of you to come to our robotics competition. It's on October 29th. It's at Lipscomb University, and it's all day. Just come out and support. It'll be super cool.
I'm back there like tearing up, y'all. I'm not kidding. Okay. So where is STEM going forward? Well, this is where we need your support, board members. So like Mr. Zago said, our funding comes from grants, and grants that we write, the middle school teachers write. They're not given to us. We have to work for them. And you know, those grants, that grant money runs out. And so what we're looking for is just more funding because we want to implement an even more rigorous and applicable curricula into our STEM program. For example, like Project Lead the Way. Even though I told you we got a grant for that, it does run out after 2 years, and then we're stuck without it. So we also want to create a learning environment where students can compete academically with magnet schools and with private institutions. You don't have to be a magnet school or a private school to have smart kids, because we have really smart kids in Rutherford County. And then from there, we want to continue to implement competitive teams in academia like our robotics teams. So before we leave, I want to say thank you, though, to 4 people in particular. These people have been just a solid rock for us getting started with our STEM programs and helping us with robotics teams. I'd like to thank Barbara Powers. She's in the audience. Kim Day, Sarah Jesse, and then Mark Guthrie, who I do not think came tonight, but he's from Central Magnet, and he's the one that bugged me until I started a robotics team. So I don't know if that's a thank you or not, but he's been pretty amazing with advice. So just to leave you with a thank you, and just to keep in mind that and remember that STEM is the foundation of our future. Thank you very much.
Mr. Evans, do you need to get them together for a picture or anything? Are you all right? You okay?
Ms. Finley, I was expecting maybe the white lab coat.
Okay,
Or
well,
something.
let me tell you, now I have to go back to school and tell my friend that she was right. Because I work with Tabitha Heron. She's our teen living teacher, and she said, you have to wear your lab coat. I was like, no, I'm sitting in front of a bunch of professionals. And then, so now I feel like, oh, I should have worn my lab coat. So now I have to go tell her that she's right. So I apologize. He's right. I wear it every day at school. So when I don't have it on, the kids are like, oh, I didn't recognize you. So anyway, I really appreciate it.
I'll say, board members, when you walk in one of these STEM classes, you walk in most classrooms, everybody turns and looks at you, so who is this stranger, in the room or something like that. You walk in a STEM class, they don't know you're there. They're watching the teacher and what's going on. So
yes, sir.
My compliments to all of you and what you're doing in the classroom. The kids are very, very much engaged.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
I did want to close by saying they focus on the students and the work that they're doing, but you have to remember it takes exceptional adults and exceptional teachers in those classrooms to make these things happen. They'll never blow their own horns. And I also see several of the parents here supporting their students as well. Those parents spend countless hours working with their teachers and those students after school and before school and on the weekends as well, so they deserve a lot of credit as well. We as Rutherford County need to start focusing a little bit more on that the STEM flow from middle school through high school. I know Mr. Estes would have loved to have had some problem solvers show up into his classroom with the skills that these students possess. I don't know where some of that come from Miss Dalton, but she was never so talkative in elementary as well. But I'm certain you guys were or had a focus on what you were going to do when you were in 6th grade, just like these students do now, but I did not. I was focused on June. So it is an amazing program. If you ever have an opportunity to visit these classrooms, any of these classrooms, you should take that opportunity, and I appreciate your time tonight listening to our students and our teachers.
I want to thank all of you for certain, and any board member can speak, of course, at any time, but whenever we meet with students here in this room, and frankly it happens about every month, we're doing something on spotlighting the education, and we are, without fail, without fail, we are always impressed with their abilities and what teachers do and what students can do when challenged. Board, any comments?
Question, the 20,000 grant, was that per school or just you all shared the 20,000?
So, no, sir. Every teacher, any teacher that got the grant received the $20,000, but the equipment that the grant covered is very expensive. It covered anything from 3D printers to computers to, I'm trying to think what else. Well, the biggest part is the robotics. The robotics kits themselves are over $1,000 a piece, and one kit only covers one group of students, if that makes sense. So you have to order multiple kits to be able to cover 2 classes, and that's it. So I only have enough kits to cover 2 classes. I do other robotics that I've gotten from other grants, but the Project Lead the Way grant, I'm only able to use with my 8th graders because I don't have enough materials. So yeah, it's very expensive. You have curriculum that comes with it as well, and that costs some per year. It costs $750 per year for that also. And then just a lot of consumables. Students go through a lot of materials, and that gets very expensive. Trust me. Miss Billy, where's the hot glue? We're out. It's like and within my classroom, I know my students write grants. I have to explain to them what that is, and they write their own grants, which means I pull money from my grant, and I purchase other materials for them as well. But that money runs out. These things get very expensive, and after 2 years, we won't have that money remaining. So you're welcome.
I would like to have a dollar figure, what it would take to implement this program across the board. If you guys could put that together for us.
Yeah, Mr. Murray, I'm sorry. Hey, Mr. Murray, my principal, sit over there. I'm sorry. Don't fire me.
Did I understand you to say that there wasn't a follow-up program
That's where I was.
in high school? That's still your thunder? I apologize.
No, it's good.
So we have, as far as I know, and you'll know more than I will, as far as I know, we have programs that are with, I guess what you want to say, under the STEM umbrella. But as for a true STEM program, like I believe Blackman High School has started to implement a true STEM program. Is that correct? Okay. And Siegel maybe is going to in the future? Okay. So, and then with Central Magnet, of course, they have a true engineering program, a true aeronautics, you can correct me on those things, and a true biomedical. But our kids feed into Stewart's Creek High School, and I know Stewart's Creek High School has a criminal justice program. There's not a true STEM class, yes, sir.
Yeah, a STEM emphasis, whether it's at Smyrna or at Stewart's Creek, what you've got is you've got a program at these middle schools that doesn't logically flow into a program at the high school, and that's a matter that we have to correct. I hope that in no small part because of your spotlight on education, you're coming here before this board, that will take the highest priority, perhaps even above some of these funding issues, because program is something that we absolutely have control of, local control of, and can make immediate decisions and implement things there. I also am interested, are these teachers allowed and capable of a collaborative conferencing type of
Yes, sir. And we, for example, on the half days that we PLC, we got together on the last half day that we PLC'd. We're planning on getting together again on this next half day. So that's really up to our administrators whether they approve that or not, but most of the time they do because they're awesome. But they, so that is when we usually get together at PLC. We did also this summer get together with, well, all three of those people over there, and collaborated as well at my school. And we tried to kind of combine all of the different lesson plans and ideas that we're doing in our classrooms together to make it more cohesive, I guess, across the county. But again, we don't have STEM in every middle school as well, so that's something else that we're still trying to push for. And then we also met, that was on the half day. We also met about trying to get a common curriculum and things like that. So we kind of threw a few things out there that might be useful also. But as for the high school, I have students that come back to me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, Miss Finley, I miss STEM so much. We don't have that here." So my fear is that they're going to lose that interest. You know what I mean? I don't want that to fizzle because, as Mr. Thompson said, we need this so badly.
Well, that was my question, and the issue is that we've got to have continuity in programs into the high schools, and now my comment, and pardon me for chasing a rabbit, but I got a Christmas list a year ago from my nephew, and it had a processor board on it because he's on his robotics team, and I said, "Do what?" And it gave me a web link and where I could go, and I could purchase him this processor board, which seemed to make no sense to me whatsoever, and yet it was what he absolutely wanted for Christmas, and so I understand the passion and the interest. I also understand that my nephew has ridden something like 438 different roller coasters, which I kind of think to myself, what is the purpose of that? And is that really what you should spend all of your free time doing? And yet, as a freshman at the University of Cincinnati, because of his robotics team work and his work through his STEM program, he's being pursued now by computer control systems that design the computer control systems for roller coasters.
Wow.
Because he has such a breadth of knowledge.
Right.
And so once we identify an individual passion, I think as a challenge for me as a parent or an uncle, to go, really, is this really something that we want to spend this much time on and invest this much time on? We find it so easy to spend hours and hours and hours in the weight room or in a gymnasium somewhere or investing time in physical fitness on the hope that we might get a college scholarship or a professional contract in athletics. So much more so are the possibilities for these students when they identify a passion and then pour themselves into it with that type of time, effort, and energy. When we see it show up on their Christmas list, when we see it show up in their free time, all of a sudden there are incredible opportunities. And
May I say something to that?
please.
So Sydney mentioned something about when we took them to the STEM Expo at Tennessee State University this past year. We've been twice. One was at MTSU and one was at TSU. And her team, you'll have to correct me, Sydney, they were trying to figure out a new biomedical screw, one that would biodegrade within the body. You wouldn't have to have it removed. It would be less pain. Okay, and they only found that there's one other university in the entire world that's working on this, and it's a university in Germany. They happened to also think of this idea. So when they presented this idea, now they had failed and failed and failed on their prototypes, and they still didn't have what it would be a marketable prototype, of course. But when they presented this, the lady from Vanderbilt said, I want those girls at Vanderbilt. And she came up to me, she found me, and she said, I want those girls at Vanderbilt. And I was like, okay, give them money and they will come. And then Austin's group got the MTSU Award of Excellence. He didn't mention that, was supposed to, for forensic science. And the lady was there, was she biology? I believe she's a biology professor, maybe, or she was in the forensic science department that's new at MTSU, and she said the same thing. I want these kids at MTSU. So, and they were 8th graders, and so for that to happen is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Sorry. And I hope I can make one more comment. The reason I did so much time at Central is I have a son that graduated from Central, to your point. He was on the robotics team. That's how I got sucked into this mess. An interesting thing, he learned 3D CAD through the robotics team, right? He now works for the company that I work for. He's in college. He does all the 3D design work for the company that we do. I barely pay for him to go to school, just from what he learned in robotics. And we got a sponsorship for free software, learned it through robotics, and you can pay your way through school with that. So I just want to make that comment too.
Good here.
And so what his kid learned in high school, my kid's a 6th grader and she's doing the same thing. I'm like, go, you can pay for mama's house. Okay. Sorry.
I believe we're done. I want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And this entire crew that you brought with you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Remind the audience, in case they're wondering, we've got a number of other items to do, and the following items we have already discussed at work session. So if we appear to not to have as many questions as you might think, that's the reason why we've covered it all last night. Mr. Director, number 9, the local education.
Number 9 is the 2016 Local Education Agency Compliance Report. LEAs, or local education agency, are required to comply with all state education laws and the State Board of Education rules. The annual LEA compliance report form, due on November the 30th, should state deficiencies and a compliance plan for each deficiency. The Commissioner of Education will not grant approval to LEAs that are not in compliance with state education laws and rules that have no Tennessee Department of Education approved plan for compliance. Every school in Rutherford County has reviewed the compliance report form, including state rules and regulations. The 2016 LEA compliance report shows there are no deficiencies in Rutherford County schools. Recommend approval of the motion to approve the 2016 LEA compliance report showing there are no deficiencies for Rutherford County.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or discussion on number 9? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And there is no one. Number 10, Mr. Director.
Number 10 is the proposed Rutherford County Schools, the 2017-18 academic calendar, which was on tab 3 and we discussed last night. Recommend approval, motion to approve the Rutherford County Schools 2017-2018 academic calendar as presented.
So move.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. A second? Thank you, Mr. Young. Any comment? Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one. Mr. Director?
The 5-year building plan, and you have a little different version tonight. You know, we discussed it Monday night in a meeting solely dedicated to that, talked about it some last night, and we had some suggestions, and hopefully we've got those incorporated. If we haven't, please take a look so that we do. It should be in the top corner, 10/20/2016 per 10/19 meeting. So the motion would be to approve Rutherford County Schools building program through August 22nd, 2022, and it is dated October the 20th, 2016, as presented.
Move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. A second?
Second.
I know we discussed this last night, and Mr. Sandvig, even at the very last minute, made a change on it to comply with wishes of some of the board members. Are we in good shape as far as we know at this point, going forward with this to Health and Ed? If not, do we have a second? Do we have a second? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There is none. Well, I'm hopeful we can get that done. I had to say this, a comment afterward, I guess. The 5-year plan, and I know you said this before, you know, when you get in that 3rd and 4th and 5th year, it gets hazier and hazier. With that window, it's getting tighter and tighter to get into, isn't it? It's really, our population is growing so fast.
Well, we mentioned last night that, and there are different people probably watching tonight, YouTube or whatever it is, that because our growth is still over 1,000 this year again. We talked about how much growth we've had over the last several years, that in order to keep up, we're looking at about 3 schools every 2 years. And that's scary from several aspects, not only the funding aspect, but just to simply, our schools are so full already that, again, when you bring in another 1,000 students and they disperse themselves across the county, you create overcrowding in many, many places. And again, 143 portables that we have in existence now. One of our goals is to try to stop what's the name for the portable?
Trailer.
It's a trailer classroom.
Trailer classroom.
Trailer classroom, as some of these fellows call them. But our goal is to get out of that and try to put students in brick and mortar buildings, that sort of thing. So we're dedicated to making a presentation to our county commission, funding bodies, that this is what we really need for Rutherford County Schools to be a preeminent system as we are now.
Number 12.
Number 12 is an information only. It's for transportation. The Transportation Department was budgeted 8 buses for the 2016-17 school year. We put on 7 buses through the 2nd week of October. This brings us to a total fleet of 256 buses. We have exhausted the first priority list and currently are at a number 24 out of 64 contractors on the 2nd priority list. We are ready to put on the 8th bus, but contractors are finding it difficult to find drivers. Buses are traveling a total of 18,658 miles per day, which equals 335,844 miles per month, or 3,358,440 miles per school year. By utilizing the iNow student database to track students who ride the bus, we're showing 24,159 students assigned to buses. There are 19,809 students assigned to buses that live 1.5 miles or further from school and are being transported each day. We have transported 87 Atlas students, which is academic time leads to achieving students. Homeless students is what you kind of know that as. And I did ask Ms. Snell today, and the number is something over 700 now. That's quite a bit more from a month or so ago. Rutherford County Schools Assistance Program for Families in Transition through the 2nd week of October compared to 152 Atlas students at the end of October last year. We've had 3 accidents with 0 injuries so far this year compared to 5 accidents with 0 injuries last year. And the installation of the active GPS system began on Monday 10/10/2016. We hope to complete installation of all 256 buses by 10/26/16, although Mr. Snell explained to us last night due to some parts and receiving some things, it's probably going to the first part of November. Training for the office staff is scheduled for the week of 11/14/16. The delay in installation is due to equipment and installer availability. The delay in training is due to server problems. We have pulled 150 videos from buses through 2 weeks in October compared to 198 videos through the end of October 2015.
That was for information only, but that doesn't preclude that we can't have comments. Are there any? Very well. Number 13, Mr. Director.
Number 13 is also for information only, and this is tied to our policy manual that we have. With each policy has a review date by month, and so TSBA, Tennessee School Boards Association, recommends reviewing policies annually. We need to review Section 3, Support Services, this month and refer any potential revisions to our staff attorney, Angel McLeod. And I believe we have a policy committee meeting Monday evening, I think, for one.
Any comment? Number 14, Ms. Barnes, do you wish to comment again? If you don't, I want you to, because I want you to repeat those deadlines that you talked about that last night.
So open enrollment began on Monday, October 17th, and it will extend through Monday, October 31st at noon. We sent out another reminder today to all of our employees to make sure that they take advantage of this time frame and complete their enrollment, because if they do not, they will lose their benefits in 2017. Three of the critical things I reminded employees of was that if they were just hired this year, they still have to log in and complete enrollment for 2017. It is an annual enrollment for each year. We really encourage employees to do it as quickly as possible so that if they have any technical difficulties, they will have time to call risk management and ask someone to reset their password so that they can log in. I had several people today tell me they couldn't log in, so I have to direct them to risk management, and those phone lines are charging all the time there, so sometimes it's difficult to get through. So we really encourage people to do that as quickly as possible so they'll have a time frame to complete that process. And I always remind people to print a hard copy of their enrollment benefits once they complete the process, so they have a copy for their file, which is their evidence should anything become, quagmired in the process. So again, open enrollment through the 31st. Everyone who is benefit eligible needs to go in and either submit their request or decline benefits.
Any questions for Ms. Barnes? Thank you, Ms. Barnes.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Director, I know you did some things last night. Anything new?
Only the new thing today, we did get a reminder that the 110th Tennessee State Legislature will convene this year. That means everything starts over. It's a biennium, so any bills that were not successfully passed by the 109th will have to be reintroduced. So they said the startup time is usually a little bit slower, in the first year of the biennium. We also reminded that as educators and citizens, we need to pay attention to this. The Sunshine Law, when the Sunshine Law was passed, it does not pertain to state legislators. So you need to make your wishes known.
That takes us right into number 16, and Ms. Moore is not with us this evening, so I will do what she intended to do tonight, which is to inform you that our meeting with the state legislators has been scheduled for December the 12th, 5 o'clock in this room. They have not been notified as yet, but Ms. Moore has composed a letter. I believe you have looked at the letter as well, I believe, or you will, inviting each of them for a 5 o'clock meeting on December 12th. The City School Board will be joining us. Mr. Campbell is aware of it. They've agreed to the date, and he will inform them at their next meeting that that date has finally been selected. We had a couple of Mondays, and the 12th was the one that was the winner, I guess would be the best way to put it. And he will tell his board on Tuesday night if he hasn't already emailed them. So I want you to be aware of it, and Ms. Moore will have some more. That's December. That's plenty of time, of course, from now. And we've got plenty of time to discuss that. Well, certainly we have plenty of topics to discuss. Anything with the federal government, Mr. Holliday?
I'll just highlight that so often we think of Tennessee in kind of the middle of the pack when it comes to education, but in fact in graduation rate that the federal government took great pride in announcing this past week that the national graduation rate was 83.2. We are celebrating that in the state of Tennessee we are at 87.9. So the state average for the state of Tennessee, 87.9, puts us in the top 10 graduation rates in the entire nation for our public schools. But I think here in Rutherford County, we're even better than that. Right, Mr. Odom?
Yes, sir. You want the balloons?
I do.
You told us last night we need balloons to celebrate. So Mr. Evans created the first slide here, which is the balloons. It's 95.2, which should come out in the report card. If they said that was the final report for the year, so that should come out. Slip up to the next slide. There's something else kind of to celebrate really interestingly here that I wanted to say to you. When you look at this, all of our high schools exceed a 90% graduation rate. That's really quite amazing that you don't have some that are below that. So 9 out of 10. And this is a 4-year graduation rate. So I can tell you that some of the ones that we don't get credit for, they moved off and we couldn't prove they moved to another high school, so the state won't let us count. I guarantee you it's higher than that. But it's just part of the mechanism they do to try to track that. 7 of our schools, high schools, are over 95%, which is very good. Next slide. Here's something else that's really interesting too, and not many school districts could brag about this, but if you look at the disaggregated ethnic groups that the federal government requires, we report on, that all of our ethnic groups exceeded a 90% graduation rate in Rutherford County. So we're not targeting one group. The things that our high schools are doing, you know, they're reaching these people, they're doing remediations, they're doing interventions, they're doing credit recovery, they're putting in programs for these students to graduate. So you will not find very many school districts where all of your disaggregated groups have a better than a 90% graduation rate. And so next slide. And one of our favorites again, career and technical education. We've talked about it. Colonel Houchins said tonight, if you're in ROTC, there's 100% graduated of the seniors. If you are a CTE concentrator and you're hooked to one of those CTE programs, and Rutherford County is last year for career technical education concentrators had a 98.74% graduation rate. So that again, we know, be it STEM, be it CTE, be it junior ROTC, or be it, in some cases, athletics, hold students in school. This is the kind of things that very often help them graduate. Mr. McDaniel, and have we done the last 5 years? And there's the graph. You know, I've been here 4, I guess, but anyway, that's our graph for the last 5 years. You know, going back 2011-12, it was 90.7, and this last year, 15-16, 95.2. So again, I want to commend our principals, our teachers, our counselors, our graduation coaches that really are tracking and helping these students along the way. So something really to be proud of as a school district, and thank you, board members, for supporting us in this. It's outstanding, really, I think.
It doesn't happen by accident. Thank you, Mr. Odom.
I think it's absolutely amazing. It's possible we may be the first school system in the country to reach the No Child Left Behind recommendation for graduation rates, and we're not even using No Child Left Behind anymore. General discussion by board members. Anything, gentlemen? Okay, Ms. Michaels, policy is Monday, 5 o'clock.
Public hearing on Tuesday at 6:30 at
Run the middle.
And then on Thursday, we have at 6:30 a public hearing at Stewart Creek.
So Tuesday, we're at Smyrna Middle, 6:30. And Thursday, we are at Stewart's Creek, Middle, 6:30.
Another busy week.
Board, anything else? In that case, excellent tonight, I think. I really enjoyed the STEM. I know you did too. We are adjourned.